I couldn't wait. Hey, it's Romania Black. I'm sorry, but this morning I woke up, I had the day off, and I was like, I'm gonna watch Seraph the End, episode 23. So I'd been reading the manga a little bit, got to chapter 13, which is around the end of season 1, core 1. I was like, I'll watch episode 23, and I watched it, and then I was like, oh, I kind of want to read some more of the manga and start catching up. And cut to several hours later, and here I am. But I got to a point where I had to stop because I got spoiled, I think, on something. And I'm going to talk with y'all because I made notes. But I'm going to talk about that. It's nothing big. It's nothing major. But I got to a point and I saw something that was like, oh, I need to stop and go watch the episode before I go any further. So I've not caught up to the manga yet where the anime is left off because I had to stop. And I'm going to tell you guys why here in a minute. But so this manga... the anime left a bit out. So I've caught up to chapter 37. Chapter 37 is where I've gotten to in the manga. So I read several chapters today to take notes of just little things. But and it's the weirdest thing. The manga has it. The anime didn't leave out particular scenes. Like it follows the manga beat for beat. It's just exposition is left out of the anime from the manga, and it's just little tiny things that have big relevance. I'm like, oh, a lot of it has to do with the mangaka talks about the light novels, which I've been told to read. I haven't found any English translations of them yet, but I haven't exactly looked hard. However, the mangaka does talk specifically about novel 16, the light novel. They keep bringing up things. I don't consider it a spoiler because I'm like, if the mangaka is bringing it up in the manga, then they clearly want the audience to know moving forward, and it has to do with the manga plot points. So I'm like, okay. But I have some notes of things that I've found out since reading the manga, so this intro is going to be a little bit longer than usual. But in chapter 15, we learn about Aoi, which is the older sister of Mitsuba. We find out their last name is Sangu, and they did say that in the anime. So we find out Aoi is Mitsuba's sister. I had forgot that if it was mentioned in the anime, but we find that out in chapter 14, like way back in volume 4. We find out that the mangaka says there's 4 classifications. There's demons, angels, devils, and vampires. Devils? We've not talked about devils. We've mentioned demons that are in the swords, and we've mentioned angels and vampires, but devils? Is that supposed to be humanity? Or is that the 4 horsemen of John? I'm assuming that's 4 horsemen. I don't know. So I was like, well, that's interesting. And the mangaka was like, you'll find out as the manga goes on. I'm like, okay, good to know. So that's just something. With the noble families in chapter 16, they mention 5 specifically on the page. They obviously mention the Hiragis, the Ichinoses, which we know from Gurren. They also mention the Sangus, which is Mitsuba's family. But they also mention the Goshi family, which is the guy that does the illusions, and Jujo. So I was like, we have all these noble families mentioned. Daddy Hiragi is sounding more and more like the worst. He's got some Daddy Jin vibes going on from Modao Zushi, where old Daddy Hiragi in the manga apparently just sires kids with lots of different women to try to get the most like genetic divergence. I'm like, sweet. And so apparently Shinoa and Maharu, I don't know if they're full siblings or if they're half siblings. I want to say they're full siblings the way that Shinoa talks in the chapter, because she makes a comment about how old Daddy Hiragi didn't even have to question Shinoa's capabilities because of her sister. That makes me think that they're full sisters, but I don't know. But apparently Maharu was like a genius. She was a genius spellcaster, and she's the one that she was experimenting with the curse gear, and she completed it and made it to where it could be mass marketed. Okay. So Maharu is a pretty big player in all of this, and we're just now, in the anime, she's only brought up like a handful of times, most being recently. So I'm like, okay, we're going to get more into her in the manga. That's exciting. But she was also scheduled to become the head of the family, and Shinoa makes the comment that her sister betrayed the family, which we tied back, I mentioned in episode 23, tying back to how Maharu developed the curse gear, which kind of went against what the Hiragi family was practicing as far as their religious cult went. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. Shinoa did not know that Gurren was possessed by Maharu in the episode where where they're about to do the training. She did not know that Gurren had his sword that was Maharu. She didn't know that, but she finds out in the manga and is rightfully very mad about it. And then we cut to 8 years ago, and they talk about how any adult that did not have a vaccine that was related to the cursed gear died out, and that's what caused the mass extinction of most adults. And then the ones that were remaining, a lot of 4 horsemen of John killed them. So I was like, okay, well that makes more sense. There was a vaccine that saved everybody. They didn't get it distributed in time to everyone. Something went awry. And then the vampires didn't want any more of their food source getting eaten, so they ended up stepping in to stop the Four Horsemen of Jean and enslave all of the livestock. So I was like, so we're learning a lot in the manga. I was like, okay, the anime is making much more sense. We're getting stuff pieced together in here. Maharu apparently saved... In the manga, Gurren makes the comment that Maharu saved the world through the cursed gear, but Shinoa makes the comment that Maharu didn't care about the world. She only cared about Gurren. It's like, ooh. And apparently she got so obsessed with her research and her love for Gurren that it led to her getting possessed by the demon and ended up dying. So it's like, okay, interesting. And apparently, it's interesting because Shinoa is described as, unlike her sister, wanting family in Nakama, when she makes a note in the manga that the Hiragi family are raised not to love. And I was like, well, that kind of ties to Maharu wanting to love Gurren because they're trained not to, but they kind of go against that. It's interesting. It also makes sense why Gurren constantly brings up her liking you. It's interesting. But yeah, and so it also, Shinoa makes the note that her sister had no qualms about betraying family. I'm like, interesting. Which kind of ties to the fact that now she's a demon possessing Gurren. He has no qualms about betraying his family as long as the demon's possessing him. It ties back to that. Chapter 20, we learn about Lacus Welt, and Renee Sim. They're the vampires that were with Mika, the ones that killed Yoichi's sister. Apparently they're going to have a part to play in the later manga. Good to know. That's what the mangaka said. And then chapter 20, Ajuramaru makes the comment saying that all vampires turn into demons in the end. And I was like, wait, what? So I kept making the comment that the demons look like vampires. They have the same look. And Ajuramaru says, yeah, no, all vampires by drinking blood are eventually going to turn into demons. So I'm like, well, what does that mean for Mika? Is Mika going to turn into a demon? How does that work? And so that's all that he said. And Ajuramaru says that inside you, he feels like he's a prisoner, and you seems really sad about that. So it was a really cool scene, but I was like, okay, so vampires are going to become demons. And so they can get used to be put into the cursed gear. Okay, it seems like humans can become demons. Vampires can become demons. There's this angels involved. It's interesting. And then chapter 22, we find out that Yu's actual name is Yuichiro Amani. And I don't remember if that was in the anime or not, but this shady guy like brings him to the orphanage in a suit and says Yuichiro Amani and takes him to the orphanage. And it's established in the talk with Cruel that there's a Seraph gene that some of the humans have that is tied to the Seraph of the End, and that's what the Hyukia sect was dealing and experimenting with. So they keep making note that Yu is a demon spawn in the manga, that he's a demon spawn, his parents call him that. Gurren makes note of it, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute. So you may be born with, like, is he half demon? How does that work? Like, we don't know. They just mentioned that there's a Seraph gene, and I'm like, okay. Interesting. And then Cruel wanted Yu and Mika to reunite. So that has something to do with all this, which I'm assuming is going to tie into this episode in the manga afterwards. Crowley is the 13th progenitor, but Chess and Horn are actually progenitors. They are the 17th progenitors together. And I was curious about that because I thought they were just like above the regular vampires, but not quite nobles. I thought they were just like an in-between rank, but apparently they are nobles as well. And the mangaka says that at some point they might talk about why they work for Crowley as his maids. I'm like, okay, that sounds fun. Yu is 15, Gurren is 24. Their ages are established in the manga. In volume 6, this part I was like, oh, it was established. The mangaka says that they call Shinya Mr. Third Wheel, saying that he was established to be the fiance to Maharu. I was like, oh. Shinya was, because I was like, how did Shinya get adopted into the family? He was supposed to be Maharu's fiance, and then she died, and so they just kept him in the family. I was like, oh! And it says that there was a big love triangle between Shinya, Maharu, and Gurren, and that Gurren and Maharu were childhood friends that thought they were going to marry each other, and Daddy Hiragi brought Shinya in to be like some diversity in the gene pool. And I'm like, well, that's kind of gross, but interesting. And so, yeah. And then chapter 30, we do find out in chapter 30 that Ihara, whatever her name was, when Mika killed her back a few episodes ago, she did say thank you to him. So I was like, good, manga confirms that. And then chapter 32, they're talking about as Creto's moving Kimizuki's sister, they say like angel relocation, number 6 and number 7. I'm like, what is this angel relocation? So I was like, it's just giving you enough breadcrumbs to make you go, wait, what? And then at the end of chapter 33, when Mew has that flashback of Gurren coming in and talking to him while he was like 4 years prior when he was like crying himself to sleep. Gurren at the end of it has a file in his hand, and it is a file. The anime doesn't point it out, but in the manga it's like it is a file on you, and it says Demon Spawn Seraph of the End Project. I'm like, ah. So it has to do with Kroll, has to do with Farid. It was like all a big red flag, and I get now why the anime didn't show us any of this, because they wanted the reveal of Gurren being the traitor to be a surprise. But if you go back and read the manga, it is very apparent that Gurren is the traitor. Like, you can just see the personality shift. Like, there's red flags. You're like, what is this? Like, there's lots of little hints that the anime conveniently, like, reworks or leaves out so that you are more surprised, which I'm glad for. And then I ended on chapter 37, which is not where the anime is now, but I ended it because at the end of the experiment on Kimizuki's sister, she sprouted 4 giant angel wings. And I was like, oh, that seems like a spoiler. I'm going to stop. I like turned the page and was like, oh no. So I stopped reading because I was like, if they're spoiling me on this, I'm not going to read anymore. So I questioned last episode what she probably looks like. Well, if they're keeping with the manga, she's got these 4 giant angel wings. No big deal. So I don't know exactly how she's changed since then. But yeah, that I saw that image and was like, oh, I need to stop reading and watch the episode before I catch up. So I think volume 11 is going to be where this story ends, where the series ends. It'll end at volume 11. So I am going to I'm at least going to read the content until I get to where this episode is. And then I'll start next week's episode talking about any other changes that I notice. And then we'll probably start in with volume 12. So I'll do like a volume 1 through 11 encapsulated review that'll be like a little more abridged from this because I've talked for 11 minutes. and then we'll go from there and start volume 12. So that's the plan anyway. But oh my God, it was just insanity. So I've spent all afternoon reading Seraph of the End and being like, what is happening? And now we're at the season finale. Yay. So I have no clue what's going to happen. It's bonkers. It's the last episode of the season, and we still don't have, nothing is like, there's no closure yet with anything. And I'm like, this shit's going to end on a cliffhanger, isn't it? And I'm going to be like, what? And then we're going to have to just like dive into the manga, or they're going to wrap it up. My fear is that they're going to wrap everything up in a really rushed fashion or in like an anime only fashion. And then when we go back and read the manga, it'll be like, oh, this is how it actually went down. So that's my fear. But maybe if they just leave it on a cliffhanger and they stay faithful to the manga, I'm fine with that. I mean, we'll at least have the manga to read afterwards, but I guess we'll see. So yeah, I'm really excited. I've talked for way too long, but that whole thing with the manga and all the stuff that was left out, I was like, oh my God. So I feel like I know more now, more context, right? So we're going to start the season finale, episode 24 of Seraph of the End, and see what all happens here in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. I am so glad that the manga kept going and that I'm reading the manga after this, because that wasn't enough. No, that felt like they just it had shades of number 6 syndrome. And if you've not seen the anime number 6, then you won't understand, but it had shades of that. And I was like, no, there are parts of this finale that felt a little rushed. Like, I feel like the manga is going to give like an extra 10 or 12 pages to it that had to get cut to squeeze all of this in. And I feel like they just gave us what they had to cut it into the last episode, but I feel like the manga is going to expand upon it even more. And I'm really, really excited. I'm glad that I read the manga up until the point I did, up until chapter 37. And probably when I'm done recording this, I'll go catch up and see what all was left out and take notes for next week when we start volume 12 or volume. It's either going to be with the manga. It's either going to be I'm going to finish volume 11 and start volume 12, or I'm going to start volume 12. It's going to be one of those two things. And we'll just talk about volumes 1 through 11, like in an encapsulated, like abridged discussion, basically an abridged version of what I talked to you all about here. So yeah, This episode was bonkers. These last 2 episodes have been absolute madness, and I should not be surprised. But getting very shonen vibes, definitely has the shonen vibes, where there's going to be a big monster battle, and how are we going to fight this monster? Well, I'll become a monster. So, it was very reminiscent of Bleach. I had a little, Bleach flashback watching you become the king of salt. And him walking into the ocean at the end where he's saying it's going to rain. I'm like, oh, is that angel side of you now going to tap into things? The angel side, huh? Where you're the king of salt? Are you going to have this double personality like Gurren does? Which Kuretto let Gurren go. So I guess Gurren was in it all along. And Kuretto was like, whatever. But we didn't see Shinya at the end. I was worried because Shinya realized, poor Shinya, Mr. Oblivious. I can't believe he didn't know that Gurren had Maharu in his sword, but I guess he just didn't. And then when he was like, oh, this isn't you, Gurren, this is her talking. And it's like, is it Gurren talking or Maharu? But God, this episode was just absolutely wild. Just complete bonkers. So yeah, I'm glad that this is what we got. We got Mika facing Gurren just like in the OP, except the OP was smart and clever and didn't reveal that it was Gurren in half demon form and Mika as a vampire. And yeah, God, the moment they don't have the OP, you're like, well, here we go. They did have the ED though. And at the ED having all of them together, I'm amazed Narumi's with them. I was like, I like Narumi, so I'm glad he's joined the group. I was like, that's unexpected, but I'll take it. But yeah, the animation in this episode, Wit Studio decided, you know what? These tracking shots and the speed of some of the animation was really good. I was like, Wit, all right, way to go. We'll talk about the angel and the demon of destruction. But yeah, Gurren possessed by the demon is a totally different person than regular Gurren. Totally different. Much like Yu is different when he's possessed by the angel. Now, so Gurren's in with Kuretto on all of this. Because Kuretto's like, let's start. And Gurren's like, okay. So yeah. And he says, drink the blood of a human, a demon, and a progenitor. Okay. So, what? So I guess the chains were to drink the blood of something, but what progenitor did it drink the blood of? Because it drank, obviously humans and demons. So the demon would be, the Gurren and that, or it would be, it could be Inoue or one of those, or, the man that died that was, Narumi's friend. I always forget his name. Was it Sharasu? Died in the last one. But who's the progenitor that it drank its blood of? I don't know. We don't know that. But that's interesting. I'm going to be curious if the manga delves any more with that and gives us more information about that. I love that Yu's like, what are you doing? Yu's like, what is happening? And Gurren's like, Seraph of the end. And he's like, huh? And we established that Kimazuki, him and his sister were some of the experiments as well. And Gurren's just killing people right and left and allowing the hooks that are attached to Kimazuki's sister, Mirai, to latch into them and drain the blood from them. And yeah, leading into this giant box. And then just burst forth. And so I'm assuming she already had the angel wings from back in the manga when it was spoiled that she had the angel wings, but didn't see the giant demon coming from her. Yep. So he says punishment from heaven for the humans breaking the taboo. And then he's like, control that power. I'm like, did you not just learn what the whole point was? I love that Kuretto, he's like, oh yeah, this girl's becoming an angel to punish us for our sins. Let's control that. It's like, what? And they do. That's the crazy thing. They do. But man, the animation as that thing rises in the air, and it's the vampire that knows that it's an angel. And then the wings coming up. And yeah, Kimazuki's expressions were heartbreaking in this episode. Kimazuki was heartbreaking because he's like, my sister, my whole reason for existence. What did you do? So I'm glad they left. I was like, get out of there. Yeah, Mirai. And so she's just, hideous humans, your time ends now. Ashiromaru did say they were worse than the demons. Still don't know about devils. But yeah, oh my god. So yeah, she plays the trumpet and then all of the ground shakes and she makes this barrier. Mika says there's a barrier that is made. and the barrier keeps vampires from being able to heal. Like, there's all this like celestial light and everything, and the barrier that is created in this sphere that they're stuck in prevents Mika from being able to heal himself. Okay. Oh my gosh. And yeah, Ferret and Crowley. Wow, this is superb. And Crowley's just like, I'm just here for the ride, man. I like that Ferret and Crowley this entire time just sat back in the wings and waited for the opportune moment to strike. And then Ferret struck Cruel, resumed business as usual. And at the end of it, when there's like this big fight, Ferret and Crowley are like sipping a big gulp out to the side of the plane, being like, how you doing? Like, it's almost endearing. Just, Ferret is, oh my God, Ferret's ridiculous. But Crowley's almost endearing at this point. I'm like, dude, you're way too chill. You're the chillest vampire. I don't know how to deal with you. And they're like, capture the angel. That's what they brought the rods for. Okay, they rods are hooks with the talismans to catch her. And poor Kimazuki, he's just like, that's my sister that y'all have turned into this monster. Like this vessel for the angels. Because that's literally what they are. They're vessels for demons and they're vessels for the angels. And you just happens to be a vessel for both. It's like, okay. And then, yeah, God. And Gurren just coming up and stabbing him. Don't move, kid. Oh my God. Sword, like, slices through the gut in this series is not a stakes changer. Like, you can get stabbed in the gut in this series and live quite easily. I'm like, wow. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, the animation of him fighting Yu and fighting Mika, it's great. And then Yu goes to cut him, but he can't do it. He makes it too shallow. What's wrong, softy? Do it. Yeah. And then, yeah, Yu just doesn't believe that he's doing this. And I want to say that when Gurren's like this, it's more Maharu than Gurren. It's definitely Maharu's spirit possessing him, which Shinya finally notices. And yeah, him like grabbing him. I thought he was going to grab his face. I thought he was like going to cup his cheeks. He's like, aren't we family? But Shinoa in the manga, Shinoa in the manga made the comment that her sister was not above betraying family. I don't know. God, it's so sad. There's like the image of Gurren smiling and crying at the same time is devastating. Like, just the fact that it's clearly Gurren crying because he doesn't want to be doing this, but it's Maharu smiling because she's like, I'm a demon and I don't care. It's the worst combo, and Yu's like, oh my God. And then he's like, Gurren. And then he just stabs him. Damn. And of course, Mika's like, oh my God. And everybody's like, what's happening? And so then I love the shot of him staring at the sword with the blood and laughing. Oh my gosh. And then, yeah. And then this angel that has come up. Yeah. So, oh, I love that shot too with the tears and the sword. I want to get a picture of it. The animation was so good in this episode. Oh, but yeah. And then this nasty ass demon bursts out from behind her. This giant, whatever the hell this is. Nope. It's interesting, the demon of destruction, Abaddon, summoned by the fifth trumpet. So, okay, so we have, I'm going to make a note of this from the anime, that the fifth trumpet was Abaddon, the demon of destruction. But it's an angel, so how can it be a demon? Manga will tell. And then we know that Yu becomes, through the second trumpet, the king of salt. But we don't know what that name is yet. We'll have to go back to that. But, oh my God. So there's angels. It's like, everybody's got a name. What I like about this, so Kureto's like, humanity succeeded in controlling a Seraph of the end. So basically controlling a harbinger of death and destruction. This human merged with a demon and an angel. It's like, it's just putting it all together. It's like, ugh. But yeah, what I love about this creature design is it's so pixelated. It almost reminded me of, if you've ever seen the original, the Digimon movie from like 1999, that movie, the Digimon in like the computer had that pixelated look. It looked exactly the same. I kept thinking of that. I was like, man, I'm just waiting for Bare Naked Ladies to play. And then Kureto's just so enamored that they've got this giant bug-like demon, like just at the base of Mirai. Oh my God. It's pretty terrifying. And he's like, let it have the rest. And so then they take these out of this box with the angels on it. This box with the angels on it literally looks like from Monty Python, the Holy Grail, where they take the holy hand grenade. They're like, with the breakfast cereals and the orangutans, and they throw it. Yeah, that's what it looks like. But they take out these knives with the talismans, and they just shoot it into one of its legs, and it just bursts out. It bursts out all these pods and like eggs from it. Like it's like an abscess that busts. And the busted abscess bounces around and becomes 4 Horsemen of John. So, okay. So the 4 Horsemen of John originate from the angels. Interesting. Okay. And the animation, like, throughout this entire series, I've never been scared of the 4 Horsemen of John because they just kind of like lumbered about. But here, I don't know if their power and speed is like heightened because it's in the barrier of the angel. But they just go to town and they move really quick and just like start nabbing people up and eating them super fast. And it's disturbing. I'm like, what the hell? It's just, and poor Kimazuki, he's like, what would you do, right? And Shinoa's like, we need to go. Now's the time. We tried our best. We need to get out of here. And poor Kimazuki, he can't leave his sister because she's family, right? It goes back to what you said. He's like, I can't leave the others because they're family. I can't do it. And Kimazuki's saying, this is my problem. You guys leave me. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. But he can't move either because he's been stabbed. It's just, and then we see Mitsuba and Yoichi go to help him, and Shinoa just looks over and sees Mika trying to like get away with you. It's like the horrible story's all in now. He's like, we're getting out of here before things get any worse. And he just slices through the 4 Horsemen. He's like, move. But yeah, you's not going to have it. He's like, we got to go back and get Gurren. I'm like, Gurren. And he says that Gurren was crying. So he's clearly suffering. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure that Gurren inside of that demon is not having any of this, but the demon's taken over, right? And so eventually he tells Mika to drink his blood because the 4 Horsemen attacks and he saves him, and it like got his side. But with the barriers put up, he says, I can't recover, so drinking your blood's pointless. Oh my God. He's like, then what can I do? He's like, you can't do anything. Nobody can stop that demon. As long as it's there, the barrier's there. And he's just like dripping out everywhere. He's like, you can go. And the fact that Mika at the end of it all, he tells you, he's like, I'm not going to make it. He's like, just go with your family. Like, run away with them. As long as you're safe, it's fine. It's like, it's like you just got done telling him that you weren't, and now you're telling him to go. And he's like, I'm not leaving you. He's like, I want us all to go together. We're all family. Nobody gets left behind in this. He's like, I got you back. I can't leave you. And I love it. It's so like the moment that he tells him to leave, he's like, go, you idiot. Oh, and that look where his eyes are like sparkling. Like, he was like, I'm not leaving you. It's like, ugh. And he pushes him away. And then Yu's like, you know what? Screw it. He's like, screw it. If I can't save, he's like, I just gotta kill that thing, right? And Mika's like, wait, what? Mika's like, no, you don't understand. You need to run away. He's like, no, I just need to beat it. So Yu gets a great idea. He's like, fuck it. I'm just going to become this angel, fight this other angel, save you all, and then we'll be done, right? And what does he do? He takes the sword. Whose sword is it? It's not his own. But he basically takes another person's weapon so that he can stab himself through the heart and meet up with Ajiromaru. And I love Ajiromaru's like, you're really this desperate, huh? Like, Ajiromaru's grown on me just a wee bit. He's just like, really? And he's like, yep. And Ajiromaru's like, I can't help you, right? So you're going to go for the trumpet? Really? That thing that you shouldn't do? Okay, cool, great. You traitor. He's like, sorry, I've tried everything. She's like, that's the worst call. Your human qualities will vanish if you use that. And he's like, I don't care. At this point, what has he got to lose? Anything to protect my family. Like Yu is extremely self-sacrificing to the point where it's like, yeah, you need to take care of yourself as well. And poor Mika just gets flung away from the pillar of fire, and Cruel catches him. Yeah. And Cruel's just like, oh my God, like, this is bad. I love that it's the pillar of fire. I love it, like the biblical symbolism with that. It's great. And it stops all the four horsemen of John. They all realize that it's you. You becomes the angel and he has the wings. I'm glad that you doesn't go through any more of a frightful transformation than Mirai. Doesn't become this giant bug monster. But Mirai, the fifth trumpet's supposed to be this demon of destruction. And you instead is just the king of salt, whatever that is. And I love that Kimazuki's like, please help my sister. And the animation on it is just so gross. Of the angel with the tree wings. And I like Kuroto's like, what's that? Yeah, he's like, Kuroto has no clue that there was another angel, another Seraph of the End. And he's like, well, we need to get rid of that. That could be a threat. And yeah, Aoi is like, if we neglect it, it's probably going to get worse. The world will end again, the wrath of God. Yeah, Kuroto's like, well, we can maybe control one angel, but not more than one. Like, we don't want to get too crazy with the apocalypse here. Oh my God. I can't believe that he's still alive. I can't believe the only person that may be dead is maybe Shinya because we don't see him, and maybe Cruel because we don't see her. But I maintain the tried and true anime trope of no body, no death. I would not be surprised if we cut to Shinya being like imprisoned in the manga, like imprisoned because he tried to like get rid of Gurren because he knew how dangerous the demon was. I wouldn't be surprised if we cut to like Shinya locked up. Wouldn't be surprised about that. And then Cruel, I wouldn't be surprised if she's in the same boat if she was locked up too and being tortured. But maybe they got rid of her. I don't know. And then Kurato's like, even if God is our enemy, humanity will move forward. I'm like, you are harnessing this power. Like, Kurato is a madman. Kurato is absolutely bonkers. He's lost his marbles. And all these people are following him. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's wild. It's wild. And so they go after you, and you is like, and then they use the demon of destruction to like control all the horsemen of John to like go after them. And then Aoi's like commanding this giant demon. It's kind of amazing. And then, yeah, but it's not enough because apparently you can turn everything into salt. It's like dissolve everything. It's kind of insane. And it gets very shonen. It was just like, battle of angels versus angels. And we don't see Gurren through most of this. I kept thinking it was Gurren there, but it was really Kuroto. But yeah, and then Yu's face looking very ashen, like his hair turns like ash. He says it's all over. Oh my gosh, all humans who've broken the taboo shall become pillars of salt. The fact that he went to the ocean at the end is crazy. And like the salt comes in waves and it destroys and turns them all into salt. But it's the thing that I don't know. I feel like the vampires weren't affected by it, and neither were really the humans. It's interesting. And it all just falls down. That's the second trumpet. It's the king of salt. So he doesn't have a name. And Kurato's like, I don't care, kill it. So this Aoi girl knows who all these angels are. Like, she seems pretty well versed in the angels' names and their abilities, and Kurato does not. So that's curious. I hope we get backstory with Aoi and how she knows all of this stuff. Like what library did she go to find this stuff out? And yeah, so he's controlling somehow Mirai and getting her, and then you all back with the light and everything. I do love the glaive. I freaking love the salt made glaive. It's really cool. I like that as a weapon. So I'm like, is the manga going to try to have you control his angel ability or focus on the demon ability, learn what the hell all of this is, how it came about? I feel like at this point in the manga, it's given us all this exposition on angels and demons. We don't know anything about the devils, but it's given us enough about the angels and demons and vampires that we need to learn more about the vampires, how they become demons in the end. What's the whole origin of the demons and the angels in this world? How does it work? And then what was the thing that humanity did from the start that was the bad thing? I'm sure it has something to do with all of this. What exactly was it? And then, but damn, God, that light, that big beam where it's like all the rings of salt around the demon and everything. It's bonkers. But it's like, now I figure that the manga is going to focus on, okay, they're going on a rescue mission to get Gurren back. And mainly to get Kimazuki's sister, but also Gurren while we're there. Because we want to punch him in the face, right? I'm sure that'll be the thing. They're like, I gotta punch him for giving us what for. But I feel like this main thing with the manga now that this battle's over is going to be figuring out all the lore with the angels, the demons, and the vampires, and figuring out what this group is going to do, because it's kind of a big mixed bag. You have Narumi and Shinoa and Yoichi and Mitsuba, who are, demon cursed gear users. But then you have Yu, who has an angel, part angel inside of him. Then you have Mika, who's a vampire, and you have Kimazuki, who's a user too. So you've got all these different levels of beings in this group. And so now I feel like they're going to want to find some answers, right, to what's been going on. Like, what is this business? It's wild. But yeah, destroys the barrier, destroys the demon. All the salt is just glitter comes down. Make it rain with some glitter. Throw some glitter, make it rain. Yu becomes Kesha for a hot second. And then Mirai just gets the angel to leave her. Thank goodness, because poor Kimazuki. And then Yu's still up there, still has the powers, has one angel wing, and he's like, it's over. The chain of lust produced by humans. He says it's going to turn into a pillar of salt today. So he's still in angel mode. But then he gets zapped by lightning from Corretto's sword, and the animation on Corretto running towards Yu was amazing. That was so good. Corretto just says nope and just gets over there to fight him. Corretto is a absolute batshit crazy hot mess, but he's also badass. So I'm like, what is this? Corretto, I feel like at this point, they say that they're gonna rescue Gurren, but I'm like, are you? I feel like Corretto is one of the big bads. Corretto is gonna be one of the final villains, I feel. Or he's gonna, if not, it's gonna be Farid. It would make sense for Farid since he's climbing up the ranks. It would make sense for Farid to be one of the final villains, I guess, because we started with Farid. It only makes sense we end with Farid, our hot diva vampire. But Corretto, I feel like, is going to be one of the big bads that they have to take down at some point. But he's just crazy. The animation went wild on him. It was great. But then the angel wing disappears, and Yu slowly starts to convert back to a human. God, and then Wit Studio, you guys you didn't have to go that hard. Every time, when Corretto, rolls across the ground, the tracking shot, it's so good. But yeah, but then he's capture Yuichiro Hyakuya and restrain him. And then he's about to pass out, and Ajiromaru's like, man, you've gone crazy, haven't you? And that's Gurren that says that. He's like, horrible humans. And then he goes to fight. He's like, I'm happy you. At the end, you came for my help. Unfortunately, to control it, I have no other way but than to do this. So she's like, I can't help you get away from the angel unless I take over for a hot second. So, and then he just pops out the little devil horns and becomes a demon for a hot second and then promptly passes out. Yep. So Ajiromaru, so that's going to be the fail-safe. When he's done with angel mode, Ajiromaru's going to be let's get out of this. And then Shinoa's like, this is bad. Let's leave now. And yeah. And Mika wants Cruel to come with him. And he's like, yeah, I can move. He's healed up. He's like, I'm fine. And she's like, don't let the humans get a hold of you. We'll retrieve him. And oh God, I love this. I love that for a split second, you just see a little gleam of a sword, and I love that Mika turns to run and she grabs him. The animation in this episode, she grabs him and throws him back. She's like, no. Because there's Crowley. Oh. And she just slices his arm off, but he picks it right back up. And she's like, no, you are done. I love she just snaps his neck. And granted, it should have made sense that he wasn't going to die from that because it wasn't a blow from a cursed gear weapon. But he's the distraction to let Farid come in. And you panicked, queen, and your beautiful neck is wide open. Ugh. I would have ripped his face off, but she says, don't come. She says, go, damn it. And then she tells him something. But we don't get to hear what it is. Maybe in the manga we hear it, but So I don't know if he killed her or if he made her pass out because he drained all her blood. Crowley's not dead, of course. I feel like Crowley's gonna be one of the big bads at the end too, because he seems pretty nigh invincible as well. He's like, oh, good morning. Wow, Farad. He's like, oh, wow, Farad. Like, you really did beat the queen. He's like, praise me some more, God, Farad. And he's like, I should bet. What are your goals? He's like, what are your goals? Like, you know, it's about time I ask you what the whole point of this whole series was for you. What was it? And I love that shot of Farad. That's the best shot of him that we've had all series. Of course, we need it. Yeah. And then he wanted to gain Cruel's spot and become the new top dog. And this is how he did it. He's like, we've uncovered Cruel Tempest's serious treason. He's like, we need to just get rid of her. Her involvement in the experimentation of Seraph of the end. I, therefore, Farad Bathory, the 7th progenitor, will take charge. And kill all the humans. Yeah. God, Farad, you diva. And then he just saves her for Leskar to come. Oh. And so Narumi. I'm so amazed that Narumi was like, you know what? Screw this too. I'm going with you kids. I'm glad for that, because that means going forward they have somebody with more combat experience, but also somebody that is used to, that knows kind of the system a little bit. And so he can be kind of like a mentor. I like Narumi. I'm glad, like, Hosoya, that voices Reiner from Attack on Titan, voices Narumi, and also voices Sosuke from Free. So I'm glad that he made it. I was like, yeah, I thought he was going to die, honestly, but I'm glad that he's with the group. And yeah, he's like, give him here. And Narumi's like, no, screw you, dude. Like, sorry, Colonel, I'm not following your orders. I am taking him and running. Bye. Yeah, I love it. It's so freaking good. It just makes the big barrier. Narumi's like, let's get out of here. And Corretto's just like, move! I love Corretto. Corretto's sword is powerful enough to blast through rock like that. Like, that's insane. And he sees them running away. Don't let him get away. And then Aoi is like, the vampires are coming. They're going to be a distraction. I love it. And yeah, I love that Crowley and Crowley's reattached his arm. He's just popped it back on like, we're good. Oh my God. Like that look, he's just like, that's like the most, I'm going to get a picture of Crowley's look because it's the most adorable. Like, what the heck? And Farrad's just like, I ain't battling in this. Screw that. That seems like it's not flashy at all. And Gurren going to go after them. Oh my God. Shinya pointing the gun at his face and is like, explain. And it's so creepy. It's so creepy because Gurren, on the one hand, when Gurren looks at Shinya and smiles, like Gurren is smiling, but his eyes look terrified and sad. It is the creepiest thing. I don't know how to handle it. I feel so bad. I feel bad for Gurren because Gurren at this point, ever since he was crying with you, it's like Gurren is not in control. It is like Mahiru is in control, and it is, But I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Shinya, because Shinya's like, explain, don't you laugh at me, and just punches him. And he doesn't fight back. He says, don't be so mad, Shinya. This is what we dreamt about when we were kids. And Shinya's like, what the hell are you talking about? And he's like, I'm changing the world to a world where foster sons like you or junior branch like me can move up. And I love, he's like, what are you talking about? Our men died. He's like, because of your betrayal, many of our friends, and that's when he sees his eyes. Yeah. He's like, don't tell me you're possessed. Yeah, you are. Oh, he's like, Gurren. Oh, and he's like, Gurren, can you hear me? Oh, and that's the last we see of him. No. I feel like the manga might show us more, and so now I want to read the manga and find out. But yeah. And so, oh my gosh, and Shinoa tries to like hold everybody off, and then Mika comes in and helps. Mika's like, let's get out of here. Mika's like, let's go. And they're all just this one pack of stray dogs, this family of stray dogs, this vampire, this part angel, part demon, and then all these demon army members like just running away. from this battlefield, this airport that was a battlefield. And then we cut to 4 months later. Like, what the hell? 4 months later, we cut to that. So we cut to whatever this place is. See out in the daylight, and we see there's people that are in handcuffs. But the demon army are there with the vampires. So this is like a vampire lair, but they have the vampires in handcuffs and they're in black. So why? And they're at the vampire location at the hangar, right? Where the vampires were at. Okay. And there's Owie and all them. Lieutenant General Credo, we're ready to advance. And he's in like the general like, oh, he says it's time to go. So Gurren's with him. But what? No! Ah! And then we cut to in the sunlight. So it looks like interesting. So it looks like that the demon army infiltrated where the vampires lair was and took everything there. But Farad and Crowley and them like somehow made it out. And they're like standing on the sunlight on the mountainside. What a shot. They look like a boy band. Farad, I'm gonna put a picture right here. They look like a boy band, like Lukel's like, what's up? And then Farad has the most sassiest, there's no heterosexual explanation of this, hand on hip. And Crowley's just like, I woke up and said, let's do this. It's amazing. And then they're at this hangar above ground. It's a nice little twist that we have the demon army moving underground where the vampires were and the vampires coming above ground. It's a nice little twist. But then we have these new progenitors and we have Leskar, who looks like if Ciel and Cruel had a baby. So it's very petite and demure like Cruel, but also kind of looks like Ciel from Black Butler. Fun times. And of course Farad's like, hey friend, this is going to be even more interesting. So we get Leskar coming in here. And then we cut to the ocean. I do love seeing everybody in their casual clothes, and it's a tie to the ED. And now we see Narumi in the ED. Choice. I love it. I love everybody's got their bags and their weapons, and they're all ready to go. I love everybody's style. Like Narumi in the sweater, like in the cardigan. Yoichi has the jacket, and Kimizuki has the zip up. And he's like, where are they? And Mitsuba, and I love Mitsuba's like fashion with the jacket. I love Shinoa with the skirt and the cardigan. She's like, oh, they should be out any minute. They're just, drinking, Yu's just drinking, getting his blood drank by Mika, possibly making out in the shed. Who knows? Yeah. I'm sure they were drinking blood. That was the whole point, is to get you to offer his blood to Mika. Yeah. Oh, man. I love it. And they come down there and have their bag and their sword. And yeah, Mika blends in pretty good. Other than the red eyes, Mika blends in quite well now that he's in human clothes. And then Mitsuba says, where's your demon? He says, oh, it's fine. It's sleeping in the sword. He's like, let's go. We're going to get Kimizuki's sister back and that idiot Gurren while we're at it. Oh, man. I'm so excited to read the manga. I can't tell you all. I'm really, really excited. So, Sanguinem. All right. So, they got to go back. We just ran away from there. Now we have to go back. And then as they're going, like, hopefully your brain won't revert. What, Mika, what does that mean? He's like, you'll become more stupid than you already were. Aw. But then, like, for some reason, he just walks into the ocean. And at first I was like, I thought it was like a sign he was going to turn into the angel or something. And it was like going to end on that kind of cliffhanger. And I was like, oh no, really? But he diverges and walks straight into the ocean to say that it's going to rain. Like, Mika, what we do? What we doing? In the salt water. It's starting to rain. What the heck? That's where we end it. Oh my god. So yeah, I'm really excited to read the manga now. Really excited to catch up and see what all... I'm excited to, for the next week's video, I'm excited to go from chapter 38, catch up to where this ends, and then in the video next week, I'll just do a basic run over of the manga in general, volumes 1 through 11, and then touch base on this, and then we'll start volume 12 and go from there. And so I'll be reading one volume a week to catch up with what's going on in the manga. So that's pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, holy cow. Pretty excited. So yeah, I'm so curious to know your thoughts about this season. I'm really curious to know what you guys thought about the anime in general. I'm really sad that it's ending. I really am, because I feel like it just got started. The story just got started. And there's 114 chapters of the manga right now. And this ends, I think, on like chapter 42 or something. So there's like at least twice the length of this season already in publication. And I'm like, you couldn't make a second season? Are you sure? You've got enough source material now. You could do it. But, oh man. But I also think the mangaka does not release every week. It's like a monthly thing, if anything. So that could be, but it's such a shame. It's such a tease, because this series was really good. It had slow moments. I feel like this series, it's like, it can be a slow burn and then it just like pummels you in the face with a hammer. And then it goes back to being like episodes 9 through 12 were like just such a big thing, but you had to like build up to them. And then I felt like the second half of the series, you had to build up, but around episode 17, 18, it like picked up. And then once episode 20 hit, it was over. It was like the last 4 episodes have been just like bonkers. So I'm really curious to see where the manga goes and how it handles this story, what we find out about the angels, because there's at least a second and a fifth trumpet. So that means there's probably a first, second, third, fourth, right? And sixth and seventh probably. In the manga, they said angel number 6 and number 7. So I'm assuming that maybe we'll get more on that. And maybe we'll have more angels in the manga than there were here in the anime. I don't know. We'll find out. But that's going to be interesting. So I'll probably take some screenshots of the manga, maybe to talk about before starting into volume 12. But this anime was really good. Like, Wit Studio did a really good job animating it. And the voice acting was great. The animation, the facial expressions, like, it was all great too. I really enjoyed it. So it's going to be interesting to see how exactly the manga like moves the story forward from here. But we'll see, right? So again, I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below, what you guys thought of this series and about this season finale. I'm sad that the anime has ended, but I'm so grateful and happy that we have the manga to read now. Thank goodness. So in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care. And yeah, I'll be back next week with volume 12 of Seraph of the End, the manga. Bye.